Yeah, super good. All kinds of great stuff. Joni, Rex, what were you taking notes on?
Do you have any tips on potty training?
Asking for a friend, Rex.
Not for me. I can do it, but
that would be beyond my scope, Rex.
Yeah. That's right.
Stay in my lane. Stay in my lane.
So, like, what sparked you getting into this? Like, what was the catalyst or the muse that got you into this field?
Truly. I mean, I'm an educator at heart, and then dabbled in midwifery, and that's where I got into. Then I got pregnant, and then I was going, I can teach these classes. This is kind of cool. It's a life-changing time in people's lives, and I'm a teacher. It's just a different curriculum, right? So I got into that, and then once I started teaching childbirth classes, I just realized, just like it was for me, such a shift in who you think you are, how you identify, what becomes important to you. And I really wanted to be in that world of knowing that this is a real touch point in people's lives. And as an educator, I can really be a conduit for helping them, for good, bad, or indifferent. And I became a birth doula. And that's where I really learned my craft of birth and postpartum doula. I was with over 1,000 families. That's where I really learned not just my experience of the transition to parenthood. And then it just kind of went from there. And then Dr. Gottman came to our house. It was like, okay, universe.
Yeah, opened up. You said yes.
Give it to me. Give it to me. I'll manifest it. And it has been, like I said, it's been like my third child, because I believe it makes such a difference in folks' lives, because, again, it's not about what I think is important to communicate. It's what they take away or not. I remember in an educator training, I still work with them, an emergency room doctor and a nurse from Australia came to be trainers to take back to Australia. This is early 2000s. And one of them said, well, we've got some programs around parenting here, but they're very prescriptive. What do you do if a couple isn't going to do this exercise or do that? I said, I don't do anything. That's not my job. I mean, they're either going to take it and use it or they're not. So, yeah.
So you were a doula?
Yeah. I was. I'm far too menopausal and grumpy to keep those on-call hours anymore.
Funny.
It's so true. But yeah, again, it's all about education and support, right? A doula doesn't step in and tell somebody how to do something. They're there to assist and support and guide. And nourish and understand and give them rest and feed their soul. And, that whole effort.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's a great
had a doula, a same doula for all four of our kids.
Kidding. How cool.
Yeah. And the midwife for three of them, a different one for one. But I remember I felt like the doula was more helpful for me than she was for my wife.
Well, there's an art and science to that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
families are systems, right? And there's systems of motion, and you've got to. It's the whole family and how their
parts fit together. Oh,
yeah. It was a really cool thing, because I had never heard of it before we had our first child, and I remember I heard about it, and my wife said, "Yeah, let's do this." So we interviewed a couple, and I remember meeting the one we really liked, and just how they, you become a part of the family.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, especially postpartum doulas. The other thing, I think it's fascinating. I'm a professor at a naturopathic university here in the area, and we're we have a flourishing doula training program, but we're now looking at introducing a death doula program. Because if you think about it, it's the same skill set. It's around the circle gently, right? And all these different seasons and touch points in life. And really, it's about being with the family and help in supporting and guiding them through you know.
Another transition, right?
Yeah,
Another transition. Oh,
right.
Very interesting.
A riff off hospice in a way, but yeah.
yes, right. That's beautiful.
Oh wow. So as a doula, did you mainly do home births, or was there home and hospital births?
If I did a home birth, I worked with many midwives. I worked at I taught at Seattle Midwifery School before we went as a college to Bastyr University. But I would always have to be with a certified midwife because obviously I didn't have those letters after my name. But mostly because I was working at a medical center, that's mostly where I met my families who I doulaed for. And most of them had taken my childbirth class. So we had that as kind of the starting ground for our relationship. And that was really helpful for me because we were on the same wavelength. I knew what they'd been taught. So when they struggled,
you were the teacher.
yeah, but what that helped me too was, like you said, that's where I really learned my craft, because when I saw their struggles, it let me know where my gaps had been in things I had relayed. So it was super helpful for me as well. So, yeah.
That's incredible. I remember before we had our first child, I was like, oh, we're going to do it in the hospital and all this. But the doula was so great and we connected her so well. She didn't force us to have a home birth, but she was like, oh, you really should consider it. And it was a magical experience that I thought I wouldn't be able to deal with before.
Really, again, freedom of choice based on knowledge of alternatives, just because it's what you've always thought birth is. But again, I say that I'm a huge advocate for home birth, and I only worked in a hospital because, change comes from within. So
I totally agree. It's whatever's going to work best for you. And especially if somebody has complications or something,
exactly.
Be in a hospital. From your experience, what have you found worked best for you when you were about to have, bring your babies home?
That was a few moons ago.
Oh, not that many.
Well, my youngest just turned 30, so I have a 33. What is he now? Oh my God, he's 35. All right. I think what was most helpful for me, this is going to sound a little backwards, but I think I can look back now, having gone through the fire, was considering that my husband and I were together for 4.5 years before we even got married, and then another 7 years before we even had a child. So we did our career thing. We did our us thing. We thought we were it, we thought we had it down. Pride cometh before the fall, right? And I think, for me, it just blew me away how much conflict there was after this baby was born. And I don't necessarily mean arguing, although there was definitely an increase in that. Just this conflict of, wait, what? You expect me to stay home now? I've always worked outside the home. That's a huge part of my identity. And because that wasn't modeled for you by your mom, doesn't mean, it was like this huge me to we to, whoa, why didn't we have this conversation before we had kids?
It was a whole new set of challenges to help you guys grow and love each other more.
Us. And it was just wow, this is, that's where we get this we family thing. You still got to support the individual, because I've been Joni a lot longer than I've been Craig's wife, and I've been Joni a lot longer than I've been Craig's wife or Taylor and Shelby's mom. So, and how do you balance, again, that mobile, how do you balance that? Because you can't be all the things Joni was. You can't be doing yoga 5 times a week. It's just not realistic, especially with 4 kids. And how are we going to balance the finances? And can you still go do baseball 8 months a year when I've got 2 kids? You can, but I'd love to meet you and your new wife for cocktails sometime. It's that negotiation. And I think that just blew me away. So I kind of reverse answering it. It was really going through the fire of just
Yes.
like
It's the only way you're going to know, right?
The crucible.
crazy, and just saying, okay, we're going to get through this together and we're going to be stronger. It doesn't feel like that right now, but that's why it took 4.5 years to have the next child, because we had a lot of negotiation to do.
I can empathize, because I knew my wife for 10 years before we got married, and then 3 years before we had our first. So
Yeah.
But it definitely brings up a whole new host of challenges and conflicts, like you say, that really helps grow help you grow as a partnership and as parents.
We have many exercises for each of our concepts that we teach. One that I've always really enjoyed is where we call it the me, we family exercise. And we just say, each of you separately brainstorm 5 things that feed your soul as an individual. So I might say yoga 5 times a week, or going to Heather's cabin every 4th of July with the girls, or Tuesday night, whatever it is. And then 5 things that you really enjoy doing with your partner, just as partners. And then 5 things you really want to do as a family. So each person does that. Then they share with each other, and then they give the color commentary. They pick like 1 in each category, like, why is that so important? And really give this background. I go to yoga because I see first of all, it feeds my soul. It's one of my only real sources of exercise. I see a whole new set of people that I wouldn't run into in my circle or whatever. And then partner does theirs. And then I really like movie night with you, because I know you don't like it as much, because you see more chick flicks than any guy should have to endure, but that speaks volumes to your character that you'll do that. And then what you want for a family. And just, you see these couples coming together and touching each other, and just, it's communicating, and yet they're still in their own way expressing their needs as individuals, as partners, and as a family. And it's just a lovely starting point. Yeah.
That answered the next question I was going to ask. So thank you. That was incredible. This has been great. Do you guys have any more questions?
No, this has been really insightful. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Joni.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate what you do for families.
Back at you.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Thanks for joining us today. Hey, do us a favor and take a second to subscribe to our podcast and the Utah Marriage Commission YouTube channel at Utah Marriage Commission, where you can watch this and every episode of the show. Be sure to smash the like button, leave a comment, and share this episode with a friend. You can also follow and interact with us on Instagram at Stronger Marriage Live and Facebook at Stronger Marriage. So be sure to share with us which topics you loved or which guests we should have on the show next. If you want even more resources to improve your marriage or relationship connection, visit strongermarriage.org, where you'll find free workshops, e-courses, in-depth webinars, relationship surveys, and more. Each episode of Stronger Marriage Connection is hosted and sponsored by the Utah Marriage Commission at Utah State University. And finally, a big thanks to our producer, Rex Polanis, and the team at Utah State University, and you, our audience. You make this show possible. The opinions, findings, conclusions, and recommendations expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views of the Utah Marriage Commission.